Etitano nali kaleliwa mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani kletwas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. As I said in Oshiwambo, it is a Friday and we are happy to be here. How's it going,
Friday. I am good. I'm always excited for Friday.
Yes.
Because it means more rest. You know, I'm just doing things that I love to do, like self-care.
Oh, yes.
Nothing big, nothing interesting.
She always says that then on Monday she has photo shoots looking like Beyonce.
Later on in the show, we will be talking to Master Mike Sichula all the way in Zambia to give us the lowdown on what is happening in that country. We'll also bring you the sports package with Ari Khoukhad. More on that coming up when we return. In our top story this morning, Education Minister has no power to close down schools. The Ghana National Association of Teachers has stated that the Minister of Education, Dr. Osei Adutum, does not have the power to close down a pre-tertiary institution. According to the association, the relevant provisions of the Pre-Tertiary Education Act made it clear that the management of the pre-tertiary school system was the onus of the district and regional directorates of education. Under Section 66 of the Pre-Tertiary Education Act, the minister may give policy directives to the GES Council. Therefore, in our view, it is improper for the minister to make the statement he made in Kamusai. The General Secretary of GNAT, Mr. Thomas Tako, stated this in a press release issued and copied to the Ghanaian Times in reaction to the alleged threat by the Minister of Education to close down non-performing schools.
Now, in our next story, the Eastern Cape High Court in Gqeberha has dismissed an application by the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality to review and set aside a special investigating unit report which found possible wrongdoing in a 24.6 million rand COVID procurement contract. The investigation into the contract was kicked off after a whistleblower reported possible wrongdoing to the SIU. Now, SIU spokesperson Kaiser Kanyago said the probe found that proper procurement processes were not followed during the awarding of the contract. The municipality used the declaration of the national state of disaster to circumvent proper procurement processes, which resulted in the award of a 24.6 million rand contract. It said only 200 toilets were built when the SIU issued a letter to the municipality to stop payment, as the unit had referred the contracts to the special tribunal for review. Now, 2 disciplinary referrals were made against 2 senior officials for their role in the awarding of the contract, he said.
North Korea fires long-range missiles ahead of Japan and South Korea talks. North Korea fired an intercontinental ballistic missile just hours before the leaders of South Korea and Japan were due to meet for landmark talks. Both Japanese and South Korean officials confirmed the long-range missile's launch on Tuesday morning. It flew about 1,000 kilometers, landing in waters west of Japan. It is Pyongyang's 4th missile launch in a week and comes as the U.S. and South South Korea hold joint Navy drills. The other missiles launched last Thursday, on Saturday, and on Monday had been short-range ballistic missiles. North Korea ramped up missile activities will most likely be the top of the agenda when the South Korean president meets Japan's prime minister in Tokyo later on Thursday, the first such a visit in 12 years.
Tensions certainly rising in that region. Now moving down back to Africa, local businessmen in the northern Mozambican province of Cabo Delgado are claiming that they are being excluded from the rebuilding of infrastructures in the districts plagued by terrorism since 2017. According to Mamudo Irashe, chairperson of the Cabo Delgado Business Council, cited in Tuesday's issue of the Maputo Daily Naughty case, the claim comes at a time when many business people in the province were expecting to recover economically after suffering heavy losses during the terrorist raids. They informed us about the launch of public tenders we have been participating, but strangely no company from Cabo Delgado has won, and worse still, they won't even tell us why. Even for the rehabilitation of restrooms, they are contracting companies from outside Cabo Delgado, Irashe said. The Cabo Delgado businesses, he added, are beginning to believe that the agencies involved have an agenda to harm them.
Now in our next story, Lagos braces for governorship elections after presidential vote. Lagos was key to Bola Tinubu's victory last month in Nigeria's presidential election, but the megacity could on Saturday cause a stir by voting for an opposition governor. 3 weeks after 25 million people voted in the presidential election that was being contested by the three main opposition parties over fraud allegations, Nigerians are once again set to cast their ballot. This time, Africa's most populous country will be voting for governors in 28 of the 36 states of the Federation. The other states have already conducted by-elections as well as for representatives in the State Assembly. While Tinubu, who's 70, may have won the largest number of the votes nationwide in the February 25th presidential election, he lost his home state of Lagos to an opposition candidate, Peter Obi.
Now, yesterday, Zimbabwe's President Emerson Mnangagwa handed over 20 of 28 vehicles to traditional leaders, among them the inaugural chief of Goledema of the San community in the Cholocho district, Christopher Dube, as part of the government's ongoing program to ensure chiefs are mobile. The San community chose Mr. Christopher Dube as the inaugural chief in 2021. Chief Goledema is named after his grandfather, a respected rainmaker and senior traditionalist who reportedly resisted white rule in Cholocho during the colonial era. According to the San Customs and Social Political Organization, they have no succession structure. It was therefore agreed that Mr. Dube, by being a descendant of Goledema, takes the inaugural chieftainship. Traditional leaders who got vehicles, Isuzu twin-cab vehicles, are a fifth batch of chiefs who have benefited from the government's ongoing program. The fourth group received 18 cars in May 2021. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now, Cyclone Freddy is making headway into eastern Zambia. However, it is slightly weakened. We'll be getting into that and more stories from the real Africa with Mike Sichula. Stay with us.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
Now this morning on Africa Good Morning, we are going to be chatting to Master Mike Sichula, who's here to give us the news from Zambia. Master Sichula, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Africa. Good morning.
Please tell us about Cyclone Freddy, who's making his way to Zambia right now.
Yes, the Zambia Meteorological Department says Tropical Cyclone Freddy has weakened into a low pressure system over the southern Malawi and is expected to extend into eastern Zambia around Rundazi district. So what, according to the weather forecast, Zambia will not experience the severe effects of the cyclone spread, which in Malawi has killed hundreds of people as it is weak. Meanwhile, the department says moisture and unstable air from northeast Congo air is influencing the weather over the northern parts of Zambia, which is experiencing high rainfall activities, where some bridges have been washed away, property like household property in some cases, wall fences have been washed away by heavy rains. This is not likely to be the case in eastern Zambia, where Cyclone Fred was first projected was going to cause severe damage to property, as we have witnessed in neighboring Malawi.
All right, we certainly hope that it continues to dissipate. Now, Zambia will this year erect an additional 300 phone network towers countrywide to improve internet and mobile phone services. Could you please get into that story?
Yes, this development comes on the backdrop of Zambia first erecting over 1,000 communication towers under the previous administration. This latest development, according to Technology and Science Minister Felix Mtati, says the government this year will add an additional 300 phone network towers countrywide to improve internet and mobile services. So this is something that it is government's vision to ensure that even parts of the country have good network and access to mobile phone services and internet. As you know that a lot of services are now being done electronically, such as mobile money services. So government wants to ensure that even the remotest parts of the country are able to access such facilities with ease.
All right, now, Master Sichula, moving on to sports, we understand that a female weightlifter, Cherry Muchundu, has become the first indigenous African to win a bronze medal at the Androd Classic Strongman Championships. Tell us about this.
Yes, the event took place in the United States of America, where Muchundu finished third in the women's open weight category to book her slot on the podium at the event held in Washington, United States of America. She told ZNBC Sports in an interview that she will continue getting better with training. Muchundu is also local and continental champion. Her next target is to win silver or gold at one of these major championships. Meanwhile, Zambia Strongman Foundation President Patson Muzandwa has thanked government for the support given to the team to enable them travel to the United States. And she says the athlete will continue repaying the support by winning medals and bringing glory to Mother Zambia. There you can see her in the picture. This is one of the biggest achievements for the weight lifting Strongman Foundation of Zambia, having gotten a bronze medal at a bigger event in the United States of America.
Truly, truly worth celebrating. Now, finally, Zambia has been invited to take part in the Pacific Aus Sports Netball Series to be held in Queensland, Australia. Now, because of Namibia, I almost said Aus, but I believe it's Aus. Tell us about that.
Yeah. The invitation comes under the auspices of the Netball Australia through the Pacific Arts Sports Program, which is funded by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. This will be the third edition of the tournament, which brings together teams from the Pacific region, with Zambia one of the African countries besides Kenya and Malawi. So, according to the Netball Association of Zambia President Martha Sichone, this series will help Zambia improve on world rankings. Sichone also said a good run at the tournament to see Zambia improve on rankings from the current 16th into the top 12, which will be a qualification for the Commonwealth Games. The last time Zambia was invited to such a tournament in Singapore, Zambia won that championship. So a lot of expectations that Zambia can replicate what they did in Singapore when they were invited for such a tournament.
All right, Master Sichula, we thank you very much for delivering the news from Zambia to us.
Thank you very much. Do have a lovely weekend. Africa, good morning.
Africa, good morning. Indeed, now Czech Republic is proverbially entering Ethiopia's DMs. Economically, we'll be talking about that economic news after the weather.
In our economic news this morning, Czech Republic expresses interest to strengthen economic cooperation with Ethiopia. The first Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, Jiří Kozák, said that his country wants to increase relations with Ethiopia in agriculture, water development, youth empowerment, and geological sector. The first Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs held talks with the State Minister of Finance, Samarita, in Addis Ababa. During the discussion, he said that the Czech Republic's development support to Ethiopia has not been disrupted due to the war in Ukraine and Russia and the price inflation that followed it. He explained that the Czech Republic's relation with Ethiopia has been given the highest priority in New Africa program that the country launched last year. The State Minister of Finance, Samarita, on her pod stated that Ethiopia's relationship with the Czech Republic is a very strong one.
Now, a total of 2,643 refugees from the Democratic Republic of Congo have arrived in Kigoma seeking protection from ongoing unrest in a northern region of Kivu. According to the UNHCR, renewed violent clashes between armed groups and government forces have sparked the latest emergency, with 300,000 people forced to flee their homes in North Kivu province in February alone. The Congolese nationals began entering Tanzania through the Kigoma region on March 5, while others entered between September 2022 and January 2023 and sought refuge in the Nyarugusu refugee camp and its surrounding areas. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Economic indicators up next, just before we head into sport. Now, Europa League was on last night. Manchester United progressing to the next stage after beating Real Betis by 1 goal, increasing their goal tally to 6 goals to 1 on aggregate, or is it 5-1 on aggregate? Arsenal losing 2 penalties. Of course, we know Arsenal's priority is probably the English Premiership, or I'm just saying that to feel better about myself. Either way, I'm blaming the loss on the fact that Kim Kardashian was at the stadium. Here's Ari Hohad with the actual sports news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news. It is Champions League action, UEFA Champions League action, and it is Real Madrid that confirmed that they will be the team to beat. They're the strong favourites to win again the Champions League. That's after beating Liverpool by 1-0, but the aggregate score after the first leg also included is 6-2. So Liverpool knocked out for the 3rd consecutive year by Real Madrid in the Champions League. Damage was done at Anfield when Real Madrid beat Liverpool by 5-2 in the first leg. Another game that was played was Napoli that quite convincingly beat Frankfurt, and they beat them by 3-0. That is for an aggregate score of 5-0, and they're also going through to the quarterfinals like Real Madrid. Moving on to tennis news, it's Paribas, the BNP Paribas, the tournament that continues in California, also called the Indian Welsh Masters, and it is the women and men that play in this tournament. Firstly, on the women's side in the quarterfinal, it is Maria Sakkari, the 7th seed. She's through, beating Petra Kvitova by 4-6, 7-5 and 6-1. Also a good comfortable win for Aryna Sabalenka. She's the number 2 seed. She's through to the quarterfinals, and she beat Coco Gauff of the USA. She's the number 6 seed, and she beat her by 6-4 and 6-love. Iga Swiatek, the number 1 seed, is also still in the tournament. On the men's side of the draw, it was a good result for Yannick Sinner. He's number 11 seed. He had a tough game against Stan Wawrinka, a very experienced player from Switzerland, and it is Yannick Sinner that beat Wawrinka convincingly 6-1, 6-4. That was a bit of a surprise because Wawrinka beat Holger Rune, the number 7 seed, in the previous round. So it is Yannick Sinner through to the quarterfinals. Also through is Daniel Medvedev. He's the number 5 seed, but definitely the player that's on form. He's won his 18th consecutive game now of last tournaments, including the previous few tournaments he played in. He beat Alexandre Forquena of Spain by 6-3 and 7-5. So Daniel Medvedev also through to the quarterfinals. Continuing with Formula 1 racing news, it is the second race of the 2023 season coming up this coming weekend. It's the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix in Jeddah. News from the Grand Prix is big news for Ferrari, and that is that Charles Leclerc will get a 10-position penalty. That is from the position he qualifies in on Saturday. There will be 10 positions added. That's because he had to replace his electronic control system. Every driver just get 2 of them in a season without a penalty, and he already in Bahrain, just before the start that morning of the race, he changed the electronic control system, and then during the race it also gave in, and while he was 3rd on the track, so he retired. So that's bad news for Charles Leclerc for this coming weekend. Also continuing in 2022, where Ferrari had lots of reliability challenges, that was not a good season for Charles Leclerc regarding reliability. So the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, it will be a practice day on Friday. The qualifying will be on Saturday, and then this coming Sunday, it's the second race of the year. It's the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix in Jeddah. Closing off with golf news, and it is the professional golfers that's not too happy with the Royal and Ancient, and they are the governing body, and they're not happy because it's a Royal Ancient that proposed that they want to change the makings of the golf ball, that it don't go as far as it's currently going. So they want to reduce the distance by at least 10 to 15 meters that the golf ball flies. That will only be applicable for tournament golf and not for amateur golf, and there's been lots of negative comments from the golf world, especially from Titleist, one of the big manufacturers. Also players, it is Bryson DeChambeau that won the US Open quite recently and known to hit the ball quite far. He said he's not happy with that, and now also it is also Justin Thomas that also said that they're trying to fix a problem that isn't there. So that is the latest in the golf news, so we'll see how that develops. But that's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
The Regional Review brings you news, views, and interviews from NMH correspondents from across the country. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact regional@synergy.com.na.
Sport Wrap is a daily show focusing on all sport news and current affairs. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact sportwrap@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning, not just through this broadcast, but throughout the entire week. Let's get into the highlights. Education Minister has no power to close down schools in Ghana. Court dismisses Nelson Mandela Bay's bid to set aside SIU report in South Africa. North Korea fires long-range missile ahead of Japan-South Korea talks. Czech Republic expresses interest to strengthen economic cooperation with Ethiopia. Those have been our stories.
We thank you very much for joining us on this Friday edition of Africa Good Morning. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same place. From all of us here in studio, it's Happy Friday.
Suraj Rakanaka.